Well, hi everyone. Welcome to Tech Tuesday on Cinco de Mayo. I hope everyone's having a good time. I've been working all day, so I've been as much of a good time as I can. But this is your time to come and ask tech questions, geek questions, anything you want to have answered. We don't always do it every Tuesday. Could be some Thursdays. Anyone that has T in the name. We're trying to do at least monthly. This will be our second one. But if you have any computer questions in general, this is the time. Also, don't forget, we have our virtual happy hours. That's where we talk about beer, wine, cider, mead, the kind of craft beer scene, and just have a good time there. And some of the other places that I like to go. Additionally, we are still working on content for our normal show, where we'll be covering Apple Watch, different technologies in more depth, as opposed to the kind of Q&A time like this, where we'll have to kind of quick fire, answer the question, go into it. Those are episodes where we can deep dive. So maybe what you're looking for in an Apple Watch, programs I use and like on it, setting changes I make. And we'll even have a gamer part where my son is an avid gamer and he'll be covering content there. He's already got everything up, kind of ready to go over League of Legends and what you need to know to get started, and then what the different spots are. So if you're newer to the game or wanting to get into it, stay tuned. That is coming very, very soon. So just seeing who all's on. It looks like... Hi, Mom. So my mom's on right now, and that's great. If you're new here and watching, stop in and say hi also. We'd love to know that you're on. And if you have any kind of questions, again, this is your time to ask those tech questions. And that reminds me, you can ask the questions on our link. We always post them up. Normally today we kind of got a little late with it, but we try to post it up a day or two ahead so that you can ask those questions in case you can't make it to the show. We will still go through, look for those questions, answer them, and then you can catch it on the replay. And if we can, we'll try to tag you on it so you know. But otherwise, that's one way to do it. That's another kind of throw out. You can find us on YouTube. We have a link on our Facebook page. And in the not too distant future, we'll be posting to both at the same time. So we'll be live on YouTube and on Facebook at the same time. And if you haven't already, go ahead and go up and click like on the page, on the Glitch 2600 page, so that you can know when we have these other videos coming or when we have the Tech Tuesdays, because I don't always want to share it out on my personal page. So just for you guys out there. So one question I had this week, though, on email came to me from my friend Matt. And I'm going to go into more in depth with him on different types of things for that, but I want to share it. He wanted to know, he was a Norton subscriber and wasn't liking the fact of having to be constantly subscribed to it. So he wanted to know different options that we could do. Well, one way was, for him to go in and go, hey, let me get a fake card and a gift card. That way I don't have to constantly worry about them coming in and charging out of the blue. But one of the things I want to cover with him, there are different types of antiviruses, and that could be its own episode. I like one called Intego on the Mac side. They do have a PC, piece to it. So if you buy that one, you can use it on both. It's developed overseas. Really great. You can run on two computers. Low resources needed. If you are on a Mac, you do need antivirus. I don't care what they say. You do need it. I'm a security guy. That's my day-to-day. I can tell you, you definitely need it. But if you get that one, you can run it on both the Mac and the PC. You can get 2 years, 3 years. Then you don't have to keep paying or worrying about the subscription. Buy gift cards, all that. The problem with the buying a Visa card and putting it on is that you have that $2 to $5 fee. To get around that, contact your bank. Normally your bank will give you a no-fee card for it that can generate. Or if you can do it with Apple Pay and others, then that is another way that it doesn't use that card, so it doesn't necessarily regenerate. But one thing I will say is to, as another option, if you're a PC user, look at Microsoft's Defender application. It used to be called Forefront. They change the names all the time, but Microsoft has some free. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. So there are other antiviruses out there. You don't have to be stuck to Norton or Symantec. You can switch to the other and get by on there. So it looks like my friend Nathan is online. He already signed up and liked the page. And I really like, does the antivirus help with Corona? I wish it was that easy. Do a nice little purge through and have this no longer be a problem for us. That would be great. But no, unfortunately, unless someone comes out with a virus, which I'm sure is not that far away, a computer virus that's called the Corona, there was the love bug, I'm pretty sure. AVG. AVG is good. It's not as good as it used to be. So I do like the free version on there. It's still a pretty good engine. But if I have the choice now between AVG or Microsoft's Defender, I'll probably just go with Microsoft's Defender because, one, it has more eyes on it. And really the bigger problem is downloading AVG is you have to know it's on a good mirror. So if you go to AVG's website and grab it there, you're good. But most people will just do a search for, AVG antivirus. They'll find it on some mirror site, where a mirror site just means someone took that download and they host it on their own page to get downloads. They do that so that there's ads, and that's where they make their money. That's where all those shareware sites that's where they make their money. But sometimes those installers will get corrupted or they'll get virus themselves. And so what happens is you're downloading a virus where, as you're trying to download an antivirus, you're downloading a virus, which that kind of defeats the purpose. It attacks before it can even get on there, or before you can even get the protection running there. So Nathan, you use Defender. Yeah, I really think back a long time ago, I rolled out Forefront to a company. We pulled out our Symantec at the time, or our McAfee, and moved to Forefront. And it was relatively good. It wasn't great, but it just took a lot of stuff from a business point of view. Then they became their security essentials. And the thing with that is once they started rolling it more to the desktops, they did a much better job. So now I even look at it from a business point of view. Nowadays, antivirus does so much. It does real time. So that's one thing to look at when we go into our in-depth antivirus is, does it do real-time scanning? How efficient is the engine? Because, think about it. It might just scan once a day. That's what a lot of free ones do. It just scans once a day, which means there are 23 hours and 50 minutes, if it takes 10 minutes to run, left in the day that you are not protected every day. And some of them even run weekly. The other ones have a real-time engine as part of it, which means it's just constantly every file you open, but they're not always coded the same. So how efficient and how heavy is it on your machine? So if you are thinking about it as, I can juggle, I'm terrible at juggling, but if I was able to juggle, I can put one in each hand and kind of juggle. If I have three, well, I'm still maybe to juggle. 4, not so well. 5, not so well. 6, I'm probably missing something. I might still be juggling 4 or 5, but that 6th one is probably dropping and making it through. Where a professional juggler, you're going to throw 20 at them. Well, antivirus and real-time engines are kind of the same way. The better coded ones are the more experienced, juggler, and can make and handle more files per second without anything sliding through. Defender has kind of bumped up to that level where it can handle that. There are ones that can do more. Some of them go in and do antivirus for your email, where it checks every attachment as it's downloading before you even click it. Some of them go into your browser and add browser add-ons. And that's not bad. It's just how many bells and whistles, and there's lots of other tools on there if you just need for home. It's better to have a roof over your computer for the most part. Even if it's a tarp, it's better to have a tarp than nothing at all if it rains. So, all right, question through. I don't know. My question is, do I need antivirus? Yes, you definitely. Everyone really does need antivirus. There are new things out there and more for it, but it's kind of a basic thing. It's not like life insurance. If something would happen to you, it's when it comes to viruses, especially from a PC point of view. Macs still get them. I don't care what they say. I run Macs. I've had antivirus on all the time. I recently cleared my son's because he uninstalled antivirus. A friend told him, "Hey, you don't need antivirus," and I trusted and let him learn enough, because sometimes you got to learn to have rights on his computer. To if he breaks it, you got to learn to fix it. Well, I found 26 different different viruses on there because my system started pinging saying something was trying to attack. So a Mac that he had, it was a MacBook Air, and the engines, the system itself just slowed way down, to the point that I cleaned it, but then I just decided to wipe it out. And no one wants to do that. But yeah, he wasn't even doing anything bad. It was from a video player that he got from a download site to watch League of Legends stuff, to replay. So it just shows even Macs that are supposedly, everyone says, can't get viruses. It's not that they can't. It's just that not as many are written for them. You got to think for the longest time, PC was the biggest, share on the market. And then Macs became a lot bigger. So if I was going to write a virus, do I write my virus to only attack now what used to work on 70%, 80% of the world? Would I want that only to work on 60%? No, I'd still want it to go for the others. Plus, Macs are built on Linux or Unix cores, so a lot of Linux and Unix viruses can get there. You just don't see many in that aspect too, because most trained and hardened hackers use those systems themselves and don't want to risk infecting themselves. That's just kind of how it works. So you definitely need it, but they're not all created the same. Some are bloatware and do a lot on there. I'm not going to name names so I don't get in trouble, but the one I kind of mentioned earlier, that my friend doesn't want to pay for, they do a good job, but they've bloated so much from a home point of view that I don't know that it always does well. Their Mac product used to cause more problems on the system than it was good for. So sometimes, just like a multifunction printer that can do fax, print, copy, change your oil, and cook you dinner, that means when one part of that fails, sometimes the whole thing fails. So I'd much rather sometimes just have a printer, sometimes just have a scanner. I mean, those two kind of go hand in hand, but I don't need to be a fax. I don't need to do the others because it becomes sometimes too much for things that can break. I like things that just keep running and run reliably. So sometimes I want my antivirus just to be antivirus. If I want internet protection, one, my real-time engine should be strong enough to handle when I download, but I'd rather just have protection in my browser and use safe browsing practices than sometimes having something that can, have so many bells and whistles that, it's being a password safe, plus it's doing this, plus that. I'd rather have my onepassword.com, set up and use that, which works on Mac PC as a password safe, than my antivirus being mine and putting all my eggs in that basket, especially since those softwares, a lot of times I'd rather one that's a master of one than a jack of all trades that master of none of them and doesn't work as well. So I think that'll answer your question. Yes, you need antivirus, definitely, but it doesn't need to break the bank. And you don't get hung up on all the bells and whistles. A lot of them are sold too that say, hey, it's 360 because it does these 50 other things. Well, that's to justify the $60 price. A lot of them have a smaller engine that's only 20 or only 10. That's fine. But for Microsoft, actually, Defender does a really good job, unless you're surfing stuff that you know you're going to bad spots. If you're a security guy and you know you're going to bad stuff, you probably don't need that upper, set. You're not risking it as much. And then just knowing good, safe browsing practices, is a good idea. When you hover over a link, over a URL, it has to tell you where it's going. That's how it functions. So if you get an email from what we call phishing or anything, and you hover over the link, so you take your mouse and just kind of hover it over for a second, it'll tell you where it's going, the URL, which you read semi right to left. But all you really got to know for those is you look for, as you come to the side, you look for whack whack. So // and then go to the next slash. Stop there and just read right to left. That'll tell you it's going. It doesn't matter afterwards, and I'll use an example and show it for a future episode, how to spot bad URLs. But basically that'll take you to a .com, a .edu, .biz, and that's the first part of the internet. That's the top, the root servers. So your root ones are and then .com, net, and you're coming in there. And the next one is the domain. So if it's glitch 2600, it's .com, glitch 2600, and then you might get www or another subdomain in front of that. Sometimes a trick is that they'll go whack whack www.glitch2600.com / www.usbank.com. So you're only reading going, oh, it's a US Bank. Oh, it's Bankers Trust. It's thisbank.com. And what it really is, remember I said you look for the first whack whack / go to the next one and count back there. That shows it. So that's probably more likely to be www.stealallyourmoney.com. So if you hover over that link, look for that. Or if it just has an IP, which is just the phone number of a server. So without getting into strong DNS, and which is domain name system and all of that, just know it's the phone number for the server. It's like if your phone didn't have an address book and I had to remember every single number of every person I knew, I'd go crazy. Instead, I have it as an address book. That's what DNS in the name is when you go to like google.com or glitch2600.com or any of those. Instead, sometimes to hide that they're www.badguysstealallyourmoney.com, they'll just put 78.127.250.1, which if that's a really legitimate good site, sorry, I used your IP. But they'll sometimes do that, so you should just use caution. So that's always a better practice, is to understand that safe browsing. You can do some of the same things on a mobile phone. People don't think you can because you don't hover. Well, one, the iPhones and iPads, well, not iPhones, but the iOS, the Pad OS, now has the capability to hook up a mouse to it. And you can see a mouse and semi get hyperlinks. But also if you press and hold on the link, it will tell you the URL up above. You don't actually have to go to it. It will do a mini preview and protect your device. So when in doubt, you can do that and not have to deal with as much nefarious. So you can't cut out everything, but it makes it much safer. So yes, you need antivirus, but good, safe surfing practices go hand in hand with that. So I hope that answers the question. Of course, you have other people there that have questions too. By all means, fire away. I love to answer, and I'm here for you guys during this. This is the fun part where I just get to learn and test out new things. And really, there's a good chance you'll ask a question I don't know the answer to, or I'm out of practice with it. If that happens, I will look it up. We'll bring it up on the next show, and I will let you know and tag you for it so that you know and get your answer. The nice thing is sometimes us tech guys might not always have the answer, but we pretty much have really good Google foo and know what's the right information to get you there, or know someone who has the right answer. I know antivirus and all that, but I'm not a programmer and coder anymore. So if you turn around and said, hey, I want to know, well, I do know some Ruby on Rails, but let's just say C#, because I haven't done any of that forever. I know people who know that, or Object-C, or Swift programming. I don't really do that stuff anymore, but the good thing is I know people who do, so I can always help get you your answers or get you there. And that just helps me learn. So this might be for you guys, but it is, I guess, a little bit selfishly for me too. Plus, I just like to talk and be on air as I test out new setups. You guys like the lights behind? So, messing around with the setup, one, we'll have a cool new set and everything when we're all done, but we're still repairing the bar area and from some water damage. But in the meantime, we got some new lights. I got some new video lights today that'll make all of this prettier, hopefully. But for fun in the background, we added this fun element where I can change the color behind me. Obviously, I went with the glitch green-ish color. If anyone who knows me knows green and turquoise are one of my favorite colors, which is why I picked those, and I can change the power of it. Amazingly cheap set of lights, $38.39. Got me two. They're powerful. They can go on a par. I just stuck them right behind. When we have the set, they'll be coming down in different parts. And I might be adding on to them. But that was just a fun little extra. I definitely age. I see it in the mirror all of the time. And I think this is going back farther and farther. If I go back to old pictures. What do Chromebooks have? Chromebooks supposedly have their own level of protection. There is antivirus out there for Chromebooks. There are some out there that run on it because they still have a processor. They still have a mini OS. There's actually, for a while, there was antivirus for, and there still is for iOS. You just don't see it a whole lot because of how it has to integrate at that OS level, and no one does a really great job. Microsoft only allows so much through. But there is antivirus for Androids, which, being their open platform, is almost too open. I think Apple's is too closed, but I think the Android, which is essentially Chrome OS, or the Chromebook OS, I think that one is too open, and there is antivirus out there for it. In fact, I think McAfee makes one, and there's a few. Google says you don't need it if you go through their protections. It's less likely. You don't see as much code for it, even though it can run Android code, but it's not the same Android code. So the stuff that's written for the phone, where the phone is more susceptible, they get actually viruses and malware more frequently than you see on a Chromebook, just because of their design. And it's not like I can just pick up an Android game and drop it on the Chromebook. It doesn't. There's just enough difference where, like, on the iOS side, the iPhone runs iOS, and now the iPads run padOS. They're still so tightly close in functionality that if you had a virus that worked on one, it would probably work on the other. Android's kind of in the Chrome ones where it's essentially the same core OS. They've diverged enough because of that, and that's why schools run it. But that's why a lot of schools also have MDM, the mobile device management, so they can control that of what kids can install on there. Because if they can't put something bad on there or can't go somewhere bad, they're probably not going to get something bad, supposedly. But there's just not much out there for it, and a lot of the other protections have some scanning, or they do docked scanning for schools with those. But there is some antivirus out there. You can find some. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Norton, and I'm pretty sure McAfee, although I'm slightly curious now. So now I'm definitely an Apple iOS person. I had an Android for a long time for work, but then I hacked the OS and changed it. And I had both the iPhone and the Android. My work one was an Android. My home one was the iOS. And eventually I broke down and just had them as the same and then made them the same phone. But I'm just kind of curious. I'm going to do a quick search, which I could have brought up on the screen. Maybe I should have. For Chromebook. I like that there's for free. Search for Chromebooks security for free. Yeah. You want to know one of the worst things you could probably ever do is do a search for free antivirus. That's essentially the same as typing in, hey, I want a free virus. Because it'll almost always find it that way. Most reputable companies, if they offer a free product, they'll have it on their page. They're not going to put it on there. So if you just look up, the good paid antiviruses, you'll probably find a free. Again, Defender is an option. But Avast, they make a really good one. There's Kaspersky, Norton does. I thought a few of them did out there. Avast is rated one of the better ones. Best overall supposedly is Kaspersky. I used to use Kaspersky. I can never say it. Kaspersky. Yeah. But, and they do find the viruses really quick. They got hacked a few years back, which I always go, if you're a security company and you get hacked, I get it, you're a target. And it's how fast you respond. They did have a relatively fast response, but it just kind of put me off from checking them out for a while. But for the Chromebook, they are rated one of the top. Best overall for what it gets and for how the engine runs. And they do run for Android, their Android one. So it can work on both the Android phone and on your Chromebook, which they also offer an iOS and macOS version. So you can get that for both. I might actually have to go recheck them out. So now we know. Kind of curious. I'm going to leave that up so I can find that one later. Thank you for asking that, because now I've got a reason to go back and check out Kaspersky again. That's all right. It's all right. You could go take a phone call. Or I won't pop that up on screen. But if you have to take a phone call, I'll allow it. But again, if you guys have any questions, happy to post them on here. We'll probably stay on for a while tonight. Not too long, because we'll just post up another one. And again, just a reminder that if you haven't already, feel free to go like the page to know when we're doing more. So you have to go up there and click the like for the page, not just on the post, not just on the video, but on the page itself. Also, we'll be rebroadcasting this to YouTube, and in the future, we'll be simulcasting. So if you have a preferred one, you'll get it on both. I just have to set that up using, right now I'm probably going to use something called Restream.io. In the future, the stuff I use for my broadcast setup is making their own. So I'm not about to sign up for their 1 year when I know the beta of the program is working on having that be built in already, which is even better than having to go pay for it, especially since this is a really great piece of software that I'm using. I'm using a piece of software called Ecamm for my broadcasting, and it's really great. So if anyone is curious about that setup, maybe I'll do a video on my stream setup. Right now I'm running it super lean, literally a laptop, one camera, and a microphone. But in other setups, I've got 2 cameras, 3 cameras ready to go. This one's a GoPro coming in, which don't let anyone tell you differently. You can bring a GoPro into live broadcasting. You just need to have the right equipment set up and then bring it in. I'm bringing it in through a capture card called Camlink. But and you can do different ones. If you have a mixer, there's ways to do it. But great software. It supports native USB input from a lot of cameras. All sorts of really great features, and more all the time. But they're coming out with that. So eventually, I digress, we'll be doing streaming to both. So you can subscribe on either one. And again, you can post your questions. When you see these come up, you can post your questions. If you can't make it to the show, you can ask your questions on there, and I will come back and grab them and bring them into the show and try to tag you. But otherwise, you'll see when the next one is. And we'll be having other episodes that aren't related to just Q&A. We'll always try to go live. I really like the live part, even when we're going over a subject. So when I'm talking about Apple Watches, I'll probably leave a Q&A section to it, but we're going to go over what I like, what my favorite workout app is, or or some settings, like how to put in your own replies and smart replies, how to change some of the faces and watch faces, how to change the running app, what's up on the screen when you're doing that from the built-in workout apps. And maybe features like how cool is walkie-talkie? Yeah, I mean, I was a big Dick Tracy fan for it, loved the movie, and the comic was cool, so I like that I have Dick Tracy on my watch with walkie-talkie. So, gotta run. It was nice seeing you too, Nathan. We'll have to, hopefully we'll figure out a way to make it out there in the too distant future when I'm not changing jobs and trying to work everything out and we're not socially distant. At least from a friend's point of view, we're definitely the epitome of social distance right now. So, but like I said, go ahead and subscribe to the show. We'll have those types. We'll also be covering some gamer stuff. So if you're a gamer and like that, definitely have the League of Legends thing coming up where we're going to cover everything about it. It's going to be split into probably a few different episodes, but we're going to be talking about, and I'll have an actual gamer who does it well, which just happens to be my son, but he playing for setting up the school team, works with a professional coach for it, and can talk about kind of the esports movement too. So it's a good way to learn if you have kids that are doing that, or if you're a kid that's doing it, or a parent that wants to get into playing the game. That'll be really good to follow, and we can cover other games too. And then we'll cover just other geek and science. So if you have questions, like what's the right Wi-Fi or right router to buy, then this is where you can do those quick ones. And then when we want a deep dive, we'll have those episodes. The other thing is, remember that we have our virtual happy hours. We try to post them a few days ahead of time. We'll most likely be having one this weekend. I doubt we'll do it before, but it may be. Trying to figure out if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. We'll have another virtual happy hour where we're going to cover another, 3 to 4 beers, most likely, because we already picked them out. I don't know if I'll be making any other funky, cool drinks, but that's where I'm going to geek out on the science and different aspects of craft brewing that I like. And like I said, at some point we might cover some scotch, different things to drinks that I might concoct and come up with. I mean, I'm not going to try to compete with Tipsy Bartender because he does amazing stuff. But as I play around, that's my fun time. You can still ask questions there. It just means I'm either going to be a really friendly answer at that point. So again, that's where you can go. Just subscribe to it and like the page. We'll get notifications. We post it on there. When we do post, there's the get reminder link, and you can click that and it'll remind you, for the specific one that you like. And again, check us out on YouTube. We'll get that up there. And if you guys want YouTube specific content, we can always split and do stuff there. So you just got to let me know what you like and we'll make it work. And like I said, we're constantly upping the production value. Hopefully, you saw the little countdown timer. That was a nice little fun thing we've got going on. Obviously, the kind of border that you see going on. We'll be adding a little bit more. Get the double cameras once we get our actual set done. But also, if you like this, go check out my friends at Wine Styles West Glen if you like the happy hour thing, because we do a really cool show there. And there's 3 guys, or not 3 guys, it's 2 guys and a girl, Sarah, Matt, and Brian. They are quite entertaining, but that's where you can go and ask all sorts of questions about wine too, and they know about pairings and all sorts of stuff, and it's just an entertaining time that if you're just wanting some entertainment, that's a good thing to go check out. Well, thank you, Mom. But if you're out there, I see there's a couple people watching. So if you're watching and new, make sure you say hi. Well, If you don't want to be called out, you can type in there not to. If you have a question, pop Q in front and then put the question so I see it pop up. Especially as we get hopefully more and more people. If you know people who have computer problems, feel free to share it out. Even if we're not live, share this out to them. They'll catch it the next time, hopefully, or they'll see that they can ask questions here, and we'll compile it in and bring it into the next live show. So if you know people, if you know someone who has a computer problem, and as a computer tech, I can tell you, or as a security tech, that people always tell me computer problems. So wink, wink, everyone who's watching probably has a friend that has a computer problem. Then let them know. Pop in. I guarantee over time when I have more, and when I can interact with people, I become hopefully more entertaining and not too much of a drone. And I hopefully work well under unscripted. We'll have scripted too, but in the meantime, this is just me talking about my stuff. Is there a topic or questions anyone has out there? This is definitely your time. So you can ask anything from photography, science, computers. Been in computers for too many years to mention. Certified across the board. Photography, I'm a certified professional photographer. Have a graphic design. So I've, degree, I've worked in a few different areas. So might be able to answer those geek questions for you. Plus, I just like cool gear and other stuff. So there's a good chance I own whatever you're looking at or have looked at it and evaluated already. So I probably have an opinion on what I think is good for you, with the right setup too. So if you're on and have a question, feel free. Love to answer them. If not, I'll just keep talking into the camera and hopefully being somewhat entertaining for people. If not, then we'll only go so much longer if I don't, and then we'll just catch it on another day. But again, if you're catching this on the replay, don't think you missed out. You might not think you missed out anyway, but don't think you missed out. You can still ask your questions. Post them to the page and ask the questions there. Send a message through Facebook. On the next one that comes up, just post your question there, and we'll make sure to get you in on it. So again, on Facebook, if you're catching this and you're not on my page somehow, it's Glitch2600, and we're happy to help. Hi, Jennifer. It's good to have you on the show. For our Tech Tuesday, which I always keep saying might not always be Tech Tuesday, might be Tech Thursday. As long as it has a T in the front of the name, I can probably make it work. As opposed to Wacky Wednesday or, I guess I could be Security Saturday or Sunday. Or Wi-Fi Wednesday. There's a reason why I'm an IT guy. We don't get all that much social interaction, as you can tell. So if you guys have any questions, now's the time. We can cover, like I said, a lot of different areas. Normally I try to leave this for tech time, but you can ask questions across the board. We're happy to help. Like I said, if I don't have the answer, I can probably track down and find the right person who does. If there's a topic you want covered in a later show in depth, you can let me know here too, and you can send me messages. Like I said, we already have the Apple Watch one. Probably going to do an antivirus one now, talking about it. Probably never hurts to go over Wi-Fi. What's the difference between a mesh Wi-Fi versus non-mesh, and why you might want the mesh based on your layout. Why routers change. What's the AC number in front of it? What's that really telling you from both a speed and coverage point of view? Hint: it has to do with the antennas and in the actual coverage in the house, so how powerful it is. But we can go into those details. That'll most likely be on a future episode. I can tell you right now, if you're curious, I run a mesh, but I also have closer to 50 some odd online devices in my house at any given time, with a lot of streaming. And so I picked my mesh for very specific reasons. And there's a few good ones out there. So we'll be talking on that. So nowadays that everyone's home, you're probably seeing a little bit more of that internet drag for the most part, and seeing holes in your possible setup. When you have to work from home, you start to see, oh, hey, internet always goes out at this time of day, or man, if my kids are on a Zoom meeting, I can't really do my Teams meeting at the same time. It could be internet or it could be your router. So change the stuff that you know you can change. You might not be able to get CenturyLink or Windstream or to give you better or faster internet, but sometimes it really is just the router. We were having troubles with our live stream at Wine Styles, and we were able to completely stabilize it, even though technically we need more upload there. They're just stuck with that setup, so we have to switch internet providers at some point, but we stabilized it completely just switching to a mesh wireless system that could handle and was a newer router. So by doing that, I was able to handle more of those upload and download at the same time. So it's how many people could be on there. So it's funny how one small, and we found it on sale. I could have told them, hey, here's the $400 or $500 mesh system like what I have. Said we bared it way back. They didn't need as big of a mesh. I think it was a whole on sale for $130, and they were able to get light years ahead, for themselves, and it's already been way more stable. So just a thing to say, tech doesn't always have to be super expensive either, to do the right thing. And it's always better to also, you don't have to get from here to there instantly. It's okay to take steps sometimes. Sometimes this is the more expensive route. When it comes to photography, it's almost better to pay up front. You could buy a tripod that's okay, but then later, if your camera falls, it's more expensive. Or you could buy a tripod, then you go, oh, hey, it fell, it broke, so I'm going to get one a little bit better. And it might not do everything or work well, so you have to then go get another one. So now you've paid for it 3 times. So sometimes it's better just to pay for the top, but sometimes when it comes to computers, it doesn't really follow as much that way. A lot of times there are better or budget options, and you can choose and be okay. So like I said, it doesn't always have to. Sometimes the ratchet approach is okay, especially when it comes to IT. Like, do you back up your pictures at home, or are they just in iCloud? iCloud's a backup, but if you need them all downloaded, what do you do? Well, one step could be to have a network hard drive for about $105. You can get one, put it on your network, copy all your files to it, and then let it also go to iCloud. Now you've got dual protection. If you're, heaven forbid, your house burn down or flood, those hard drives are gone, but now it's up in the cloud. But let's say Apple gets hacked and deletes all of the iCloud ones, which not likely, but it's possible. Then you still have your local copy. So do you back up your computer? I once had an update to iTunes, make it to where all of our playlists went away. And we had highly tuned playlists back then, before it was able to AI learn my stuff and make playlists for me. I had these highly tuned playlists, and one update kind of messed with it. And all these other people on the internet were freaking out because they didn't have any way to go back. Well, luckily, I used both a local one, so I had an image of my hard drive every month at the time. I would take my whole hard drive, back it up. It would just my operating system, everything, and patch it into one and move it to this external hard drive. Well, I also signed up for a service called Backblaze from backblaze.com for $50. Now it's $60 a year. It will back up an unlimited amount of data, even my external hard drives, up to the internet. It's the same people who back up Twitter and a few other spots, but it will back up all of that and keep versions of it. So I was able to go out to their service, look at it and go, hey, here's the file that contains my playlist. And I was able to go back 3 different versions because somehow I didn't notice it for a couple days, and it backed up 2 versions that were still the problem, and I was able to just say, hey, recover this one file back inside the program, and it got me back my playlist. The cool thing is that I've also had a time where my hard drive crashed. My external one that had a copy of my laptop image, and at the same time I had a problem because I was testing. It was from my test machine, not my main, but it was my test machine that I used for security, and it got infected because I was trying to get it infected, and so I had to roll it back, and the hard drive that kept the image was gone. So instead of spending 6 hours rebuilding the machine, where with my image I can have it back in like 15 minutes, sometimes half an hour. Luckily, because I used that Backblaze service, I was able to go out there, grab the image, and bring it down. So that's just an example of one way. Today you don't back up, get an external hard drive, back up some of your files there, so keep a copy on your local machine, and then on the backup, maybe tomorrow you spend $60 and get the Backblaze one because it'll take a while for it to suction up to the internet. But now you've got it better, or you can have both. And you don't need it on your local machine anymore. You can have 3 copies now, and it just steps it up. For photography, I always tell them, if you didn't back up images in the past, to even a hard drive, then at least your finished ones, put them on archival gold CDs and go take them to your friend's house and put it there, because at least then if something happened to you, you'd have all the pictures that someone purchased. So one step, it doesn't have to be the most expensive step, getting a little bit farther still puts you a little closer to that goal at the end. So like I said, computers, all that stuff doesn't have to be super expensive. Don't be embarrassed about where you're at with it or your question. Everyone's somewhere along the spectrum of what they need and where they're at. IT guys, we're not always good about following our own stuff. So it's much like the carpenter that has stuff broken in their house. We follow certain rules, pretty militantly, but doesn't mean we always have the cleanest desks or all of our patches up to date all at the same time too, because we might do it for our work and do it really well there, and then at home not always as well, although I'm pretty militant on my patches. But I see a few people still out there. Anyone have any questions or anything they want to know? I can even tell jokes and semi-funny stories. Of course, now I'm going to be on the spot and not be able to come up with a joke. Although I am a dad, so I pretty much have dad jokes right on par all the time. Just terrible ones constantly. And anyone who meets my kids know they're subjected to it all the time. And I don't know if they love or hate it. I think they love to hate it. So there's always that. But otherwise, just a reminder, you can catch us on Facebook. You're here, so hopefully. But if you're on YouTube, catching it on the replay, you can catch us on Facebook. Just look for at the glitch 2600. Find us there, and then like and ask your questions. You can also comment on our YouTube videos. We'll find and see the comments there, and in the future simulcast it, and so you can come in from both ways. And then keep an eye out for those shows. Well, I'm glad you're getting a Big Mac. It's one of the better nicknames I used to have. Now that I've lost 50 pounds or so, I wish I could eat all those Big Macs. I'm hungry for a Big Mac all the time. It's the only thing I actually think I like at McDonald's anymore. But although they tell you from the secret menu, you can get a double quarter pounder with cheese and ask for the Big Mac sauce. And essentially you're getting more for less money. So anyone who doesn't know, almost every restaurant has the secret menu. And there is a posting out there for the secret menu of McDonald's, and they have all sorts of stuff that you didn't know you could ask for. But one of them is the double quarter pounder or the quarter pounder with the special sauce. And it's essentially a Big Mac just without as much bread in the middle and with bigger patties. So you get a little bit more of the sauce, which is what we all like in the Big Mac anyway. And the the bread is just extra processed carbs that you might not want. As the fitness, someone who likes fitness, might not be the calories you want for. You might as well get a little bit more of what I hope is protein. There's conflicting things on what's on there, and I don't want to get sued by that company. No idea, because I still go and eat it, so just not as much. But there's supposedly the secret menu for that. So, if you want, you could get a Big Mac that's a quarter pounder with cheese and just ask for the Big Mac sauce, and you might get it cheaper than the actual Big Mac. Based on the fact, what's a Big Mac nowadays? $5, $6 almost, and I think the quarter pounder is cheaper, which just blows my mind for it, that something that I think has more meat than the other one is cheaper, and you just get the sauce on it. So kind of like when I go to Red Robin, I used to love their Whiskey River barbecue burger. Just used to love it. Now they have the campfire one and their tavern one. So if you get the Whiskey River, you get the ones with the campfire sauce on there, it's like $11, $12, which isn't bad for a good burger. But I can get their tavern with the campfire. I can even get it with Whiskey River on the side or with it. Get it with our campfire sauce. And the double is only like $7. I can make it a big, which is the same size patty, and the whole thing is like $2 or $3 cheaper, about $2, than just getting the Whiskey River. So I can get more, still get extra fries, still do all the stuff, and save $2. I'm all for a good deal, and that it means I'm cheap, aka frugal, or frugal, aka cheap. No, I'm cheap. I pay for what the cool toys I want. It means when I go to a store, I'm going to look for 3 different coupons and try to get by on that. So, just saying, that's what we do. I actually haven't ate at McDonald's for a while, since we've gone into all this and just had the conversation. It may have been yesterday or the day before that just haven't really craved it as much. Almost rather go to some of the local shops around and support them, which for me, around one of them is Beer Styles up the street. They make a great pizza, take and bake pizza. The Pizzaiolo Jake there, amazing. Does amazing food in general there, and then we've frequented some of our other restaurants around here, Court Ave, a few other spots. But just showing for the price nowadays, I almost more and more I'm liking the nicer restaurant food and not going to the corporation for it, going to the man. But having said that, anyone else have any questions on there? Because if not, again, you can ask them on the replay. You didn't lose out, you didn't miss out. And if anything, you got the benefit that you can scrub through my ramblings without having to through it. It's like the TiVo of skipping commercials there. But catch it on the replay. Post your questions there. We'll bring it up to the next one, and I'll answer your questions live then. And you still, if you don't want to watch it at that point, you can watch it after. I'll still tag you and let you know that if I answered your question, hey, it's on the next Tech Tuesday or Tech Thursday, or I'll bring it in for it. Or if it's a deep enough episode, maybe I'll make an episode about it and then tag you so you know. I'll send you a message. I won't publicly call you out. But post your question there. You can ask the question on Messenger and just send it to the Glitch 2600 page. Again, if you're catching this on YouTube, go like it on Facebook if you'd like to get notified there of the live. Eventually, we will be doing it live on YouTube also. And if you're on Facebook, you can go find us on YouTube if you want, if that's a thing that you like there, if that's your preferred platform, or you just like that you can bring up replays on your Apple TV or Roku devices or Fire Sticks. Not everyone knows that. You could be watching this from YouTube on your TV if you'd like. Maybe we'll cover that in a future episode. But having said that, it was really nice hanging out with all you guys. Make sure to follow us, Glitch 2600. Post your questions for the next one. Stay tuned on here. We'll have those new episodes. We'll have the virtual happy hour this week. Invite your friends. We will not be as geeky. We'll just be talking beer, wine, and everything else. And then catch us on the next Tech Tuesday. All right. See you guys.